Well, it's been a while since I've been in front of this camera and since I've made a YouTube video. So my New Year's resolution is to make more YouTube videos. It's something I really want to do. It's something I've always wanted to do since I was a kid, but now I kind of have a following for it. Those of you who follow me on my other social medias, thank you. It's probably how most of you have found me. But anyways, starting with the first video of this year, I'm going to explain why I am tossing in the towel on my E30 M3. It hasn't really hit me. I posted the car for sale last night and I have a waiting list of people who want it, which makes me think I underpriced it, but I seriously don't think I did. So it stings me probably gonna sell this car, but I wanna explain myself and maybe you guys can let me know if I'm being crazy or not. So let's get into it. So there are two reasons why I am kind of all done with it. First one is money and second one is time. So I guess we'll start off with time first. I was pretty upset with how long everything was taking. Parts coming in way longer than they should have been. And I really wanted the car done by spring because I don't keep stuff for that long. If you follow my pages, you know I keep cars for anywhere from 3 months to a year. I think the longest I've had a car for is probably 3 years. It was my first car. So I just don't keep cars that long. So I want to get this thing done right away, kind of get all my driving done with it, and then move on. So I want to go downstairs and show you guys some parts and kind of give you an explanation of how long some stuff took to come in. Alrighty, so here is some of my parts. As you can see, this is kind of my little corner, my little mess. I have another E30 M3 bumper right there. I have another non-cracked dash. I actually didn't realize how much money these are worth. And this drive shaft is from an E36 M3. They used to be about $100, and now they're about $375, but I'll get into that later. Here's an oil pan. But pretty much, here are my motor and transmission mounts. So then here is my custom transmission bracket, and you can see how nice it is, obviously, but it took a really long time to come in. So those motor mounts and transmission mounts took about 2.5 months to come in. This took about, once again, 2 months to come in. I don't have it with me, but I got a custom wiring harness done. Took about 2.5 months. So everything is months upon months upon months upon months, and it's just ridiculous. So I got pretty fed up with that. Obviously, I have some miscellaneous parts lying around. So a lot of parts were taking a lot longer than I would like an absurd amount of time. I don't want to call out any companies. I'm not going to say what part it's from, but I ordered a part, and then a month later I asked about it, and they were like, "Oh, we'll start it tomorrow. Sorry about that." I'm like, come on. So now I want to talk about part 2, and that's money. So first thing first was the time. I said it took a lot more longer, but because I don't keep cars for that long. And then I started to realize, you know what, it's a project, it's going to take a long time, whatever. But the money part, money's money. There's really no dancing around it. So let's get into that. So as you saw over here, this drive shaft was like $350 or whatever, $375. Let's walk back upstairs. So when I first wanted to do an S54 E30 M3 project, I said to myself, okay, let's do our due diligence. Let's see how much it costs. Let's see what parts are needed. So I'm checking everyone's lists, everyone's build sheets or whatever, and a lot of the lists from 2012 to 2014-ish. I'm looking at the parts. They're not that much money. I'm like, oh, whatever, these parts aren't too bad. I go on eBay. I look at some of the parts. And they were a little bit more money, but I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, whatever, let's get this car and let's do this project. So I buy the car and I start ordering parts. And I quickly realized that a lot of these parts were a lot more money than I thought they would be. Obviously inflation, and most importantly, people have caught wind of people doing these swaps. So a lot of these parts that you used to be able to get at junkyards are now very desirable items. That drive shaft I showed you downstairs used to be about $150 on the high end based off people's lists from 2012 to 2014. Now they're about $300 to $400. That's if you can even find one. They are over $1,000 if you order a new one. So another example I have is you can either get a custom subframe on this and then you can use the original oil pan, or you can just buy a 5 Series from a 540i oil pan. Once again, you should be about $80 to $100. Now they're about $300 to $500. So people caught wind of people using all these parts for swaps, and Obviously more people are using them, so they're more in demand. So all these parts I essentially needed for this car are like 4 times as much as I thought they would be. So I was kind of, swallowing the pill. I was like, whatever. But then I started getting some more quotes to really finish up the car, and then I don't know. I just don't think I have the stomach for it. Here's where things get really expensive really quickly. I'm going to actually bust out my calculator while I talk to you guys, just to kind of give you a perspective on how much all this is going to be. Starting off with the paint job, I got quoted $6,000, okay? Now, that's before headlights, that's before taillights. Why don't we just call that another 500 bucks? And I'm sure that's on the low side. And that's before, gaskets, that's before everything. Honestly, I once again call another 500. I think I'm being generous there. I need new coilovers. That is $3,700 if I go with the KWs, since you kind of have to run them. I can explain in the comment section if you need me to. But then I need wheels and tires. Call it $3,000. Okay, let's keep going. You see, these seats are a little bit rough. So I'm obviously missing some interior parts as well. This knee pad right here. I'm obviously missing some window switches. Nothing insane, but steering wheel, anywhere from 500 to 800. Let's call it 500 again. I'm being generous here. These seats, I was quoted $2,400 to get them reupholstered. I'm sure that's crazy, and I might be able to find someone cheaper, but assuming I want a new set of seats or something, why don't we call it $2,500? We're not done, folks. As you can see, this car does not have an exhaust system, so we need to get one completely custom made. I was quoted $2,400 for that. So me being kind of generous and not naming everything I need with this car, it's going to be 20 grand. I know the calculator says 19.1, but as I just said, I'm being kind of low with my prices, and that's not everything I need. So you can kind of see why I'm just willing to cut my ties now and only lose, whatever, like a couple of grand. Not a couple of grand, depends how you look at it, but yeah, it's getting steep really quickly. So I paid 30 grand for this roller. I mean, I've said that on my other videos. It's kind of what they go for. I have offers for about that now. And so I already put some money into it. So, I mean, you can see how quickly things would add up. And if I planned on keeping this car forever, then sure, what's the problem? No big deal. But as I've said, and those who kind of know me and watch my videos, I don't keep stuff for that long. So I just don't think it's worth it. And yeah, it's one of those situations where you tried. And if the parts downstairs I showed you and the parts in general just weren't so expensive, I really think I would have finished this project. They were kind of, people were doing them so cheap back in the day. But to do it now, I just don't think it's going to happen, unfortunately. If everyone backs out of this car, or I just can't get good offers, but the car is kind of pending sale right now, I don't think it's going to happen. It really hurts me, but I'm just trying to look at it from a financial perspective. Those who know me, those who watch my videos, my goal are to drive cars and not lose a lot of money. So this is really the first time I ever splurged on a car, and actually these aren't coming down a terrible amount. But yeah, as much as I want to see this E30 done, it's not cheap. It's not cheap. So I'm just kind of willing to take my loss, buy something else, and move on. But I don't know. How do you guys feel? Am I crazy? I really don't think I am after busting out the calculator and showing you everything. But let me know. Comment down below. Thank you for watching.